I've told you before, you want a society to survive? You're on the wrong track. What you got to do is give a tax benefit for people with children. The government, you talk about a health care plan, you should give every married couple that stays married each year a bonus in tax reduction. Every year you stay married, you get another percentage off your income tax. You want to talk about that? What, you're going to get angry? You're going to make the singles angry? The hell with them. What do you care? It's all about undercurrent of pessimism anyway. The immoderate quotes meticulously cataloged by the liberal media watchdog group, which I'm not going to mention, are accurate but misleading insofar as they reduce a willfully erratic broadcast to a series of political brickbats. See? You see that? They don't capture the freewheeling sensibility of the show or the complicated personality of the man, and that's why the British are in such trouble now. Sure, some of the quotes they're inaccurate to begin with, but that's not who I am. You can't make the whole man out of one statement, can you? Sure, if you're a liberal and a psychopath who hates success and hates patriotism, you can do anything you want. Page 1, column 3, halfway down. Page 1, column 3, halfway down. Play God Save the Queen for the minute while I'm looking for this on this. Here it is. I got it. Don't play it. Here it is. Savage sometimes sounds less like a political commentator than like the star of a riveting and unusually vivid one-man play. He frequently dumps callers, even sympathetic ones, after about a sentence and a half, or a fugitive character out of a Philip Roth novel. You know, that's a great compliment. I never realized it, but in a way I am a sort of fugitive character out of a Philip Roth novel. I'd like to know which fugitive character and which Philip Roth novel. There's the question for the day. Is there anyone in the audience who has ever read Philip Roth, who listens to this show, number one? And number two, which fugitive character? Augie March? Don't say I'm like Mr. Semler, please, because I'm going to hang up on you. I don't want to hear about Mr. Semler with the doorway, and don't make up the thing that Obama's the mugger. Please, I don't want to hear that part of it. Don't bring me to that point. Palm Beach, Michael, welcome to the program.
Hey, Michael, I hope you take this as a strong compliment. It's meant to be. Of all the writers I've ever read who was an artist that could paint beautiful word pictures, I don't know why, but you remind me more of Henry Miller than anyone else I've ever read. Not Arthur Miller, but Henry Miller. He too was misunderstood. People think that he was a...
Oh, no, I was a big, huge monster fan of Henry Miller. Don't get me wrong either. People, again, they took some of the sexual context of his books and thought that that's all he wrote and that he was a pornographer. And that's if you have a little mind, and if you're a hobgoblin, you would say that about Henry Miller. But if you actually read him, you saw that the man was like as close to Dolly in writing as you can get.
Exactly. He was like a seer, a visionary. I don't know what it is about people that grew up in New York, like Neil Diamond, Paul Simon, yourself, and like Henry Miller. They get a different perspective on life that no one else gets. I don't know what it is.
Why are all of those guys such radical left-wingers and I'm not? How is that possible? How did they wind up so close to the communist parents that raised them?
That's an interesting point. I don't know why, but...
Why were so many guys who were creative in New York communists? And they wind up rich, and they're still espousing the Communist Party line like they're the oppressed minority just off the boat. Like they themselves died in the Triangle Shirtwaist fire.
No.
That's all. I had to hang up because I didn't want to go down that road. Does anyone know which character... I don't think anyone reads Philip Roth anyway. I don't want to be. Is Philip Roth passed on? I think yes. Oh, he runs a deli on Chicago's East Side now. He got smart. Roth's corned beef. John Stuart Mill. This was sent to me today by a listener. John Stuart Mill wrote a book called On Liberty in 1869. Maybe the hemorrhoid with eyes can steal that next and make it his own. He can write a book called On Liberty and make believe he wrote up every word. And in it he says, the amount of eccentricity in a society has generally been proportional to the amount of genius, mental vigor, and moral courage which it contained. That so few dare to be eccentric marks the chief danger of the time, 1869. Can you believe this? Can you believe what I just read to you? The amount of eccentricity in a society has generally been proportional to the amount of genius, mental vigor, and moral courage which it contained. That so few dare to be eccentric marks the chief danger of the time, 1869, On Liberty by John Stuart Mill. Now, I am an eccentric, I guess, by definition. Some would call me a Renaissance man. Some would call me an eccentric. You can define people in many different ways, but listen to me. Eccentric is okay. An eccentric man is okay. Why is it that this society has become so rigid, so frightened of itself, that if anyone stands out in a genuine way as opposed to a superficial way, in other words, the girls from Hollywood who puke on themselves and are forever falling down and lifting up their skirts, that's not eccentricity. That's a staged form of wildness. It's fake. But you get an authentic eccentric and the society shuns them. You get that? Bingo, we may have a winner. Jeff in San Diego, welcome to the program. Okay, name it.
Hi, Michael. There's a Philip Roth novel called American Pastoral, which is his best, and there's a character in it called the Swede. Very eccentric, very grounded in tradition, stubborn, gritty, hard-boiled guy, and he's most like you, Mike.
Wait a minute, I'm going to write it down. What's the name of the book?
American Pastoral.
That was one of his last books, right?
Yes, it was.
Okay, and who was the character?
The Swede.
The Swede.
Sure.
All right, you win a prize. Would you like a free copy of a Xerox copy of My Behind or Psychological Nudity?
Psychological Nudity. Michael, I'd also like to compare you to the character in The Pope of Greenwich Village, the Geraldine Page character, who's the mother who was as tough as...
Oh, I love that character. I love the mother. When the detectives come to her house and she's drinking, and they try to scare her, and she says, my son was made of steel, and he didn't get it from his father. Now get the hell out of here. You're talking about that scene, right?
Yes, sir. She says...
Oh, wow. You are good. Send them a copy of the Xerox as well as the Psychological Nudity. I'll be right back. Savage. The Michael Savage Defense Fund. Every dollar helps protect free speech. Find out more at michaelsavage.com.
When you rush these budgets that are a foot high, and nobody has any idea what's in them, and nobody's read them, and it gets rushed through without any clear deliberation or debate, then these kinds of things happen. And I think that this is, in some ways, what happened to the Patriot Act. I mean, you remember there was no real debate about that. It was so quick after 9/11 that it was introduced that people felt very intimidated by the administration.
That's Barack Hussein Obama in 2004 complaining about legislation being rushed through, causing people to feel intimidated by the administration. In an actual radio interview with Air America that he did. Now he's doing the very same thing he complained about in 2004. So, look, there's politics behind it, but I don't want to go into it right now. What am I going to do? Get into it? I'm going to take calls in a minute, but I have a couple of quick things I have to say. Now that the article has come out in the New Yorker, and I'm pleased with the portrait as done, and I think it would make an excellent shooting script for the Michael Savage documentary that I've been talking about on and off for 2 or 3 years. If you are a filmmaker, you are a director, a documentary filmmaker or a director, and you would like to compete for the prize of getting the assignment from me to either be a director or an assistant director or such capacity, I want you to put together a brief summary of a shooting script for the Michael Savage documentary. I'm very serious about it now. I'm going to just do the whole thing myself, I think. And we'll run a little thing here. Maybe I'll read them on the air for people to decide which is the best script. Maybe we'll do it that way. And you can send it to the address on michaelsavage.com on the top right, the Savage Defense Fund address, which is 110 Pacific Avenue, Box 135, San Fran 94111. So if you are, but please send your curriculum vitae as well. Don't if you've never done a movie or you did one, a Super 8 once in 1981 of your grandmother's hysterectomy without anesthesia, please don't send me anything. I'm not going to. I have another question for you. A guy once said to me, he was an Italian restaurant owner in Hawaii. I'm not going to say which restaurant or where. I think he's since dead. He once got mad at me, and he said, a man like you should either be a cardinal, a criminal, or an executioner. I thought that was so incredibly smart. Now, he was allegedly an Italian journalist. He was a big, this is the interesting part. We fought all the time because he was a big leftist. And I didn't understand how that jived with him having flown in Mussolini's Air Force as a pilot. So he flew for a fascist. Now years later, he's on the side of all the left-wing fanatics in Hawaii, who were the mentors of Obama, by the way. And I wasn't going along with the program. We'd go to the restaurant and I'd argue with him. I didn't know what my politics were, but I knew they weren't left-wing. And he got mad at me and he says, "You shouldn't be a cardinal, a criminal, or an executioner." Does anyone know where that quote came from? Again, a free copy of a Xerox of my derriere and or psychological nudity to those. 1-800-449-8255. Let's go to the callers. Mississippi Merritt, welcome to the Savage Nation.
Hey, Michael Savage. It's a pleasure to talk to you, sir. I'm a former employee of the New Yorker. I basically was the archivist for all the old issues that came out. I would take all the old issues and put them in the archives and so on. One thing I wanted to point out, all the cartoons that would come in, often I would have to scan them multiple times and in multiple different formats to capture all